I've said before that Toyota tends to underspec their local units, and I've been accused of being a Toyota hater because of that. Up until very recently, none of their local units came with reverse cameras. And I'm not just talking about low-end units. Even the 4.5 million peso Land Cruiser doesn't have a reverse camera. The Toyota Altis Hybrid is the first Toyota in a while that impressed me in terms of features. Not only does it have a backup camera, it has a 360 camera, it has lane departure warning, blind spot monitoring. The Altis Hybrid is priced about the same as the Civic RS Turbo and the Mazda 3. I think all three cars are good in their own right, and they appeal to slightly different markets. The RS Turbo appeals to those who want a sportier ride. The Mazda 3 appeals to those who want a sporty and also a more refined ride. The Altis should appeal to those who are looking for a more fuel-efficient ride. From the outside, the hybrid looks very similar to the regular Altis V. It has 17-inch wheels. It has LED headlamps with daytime running lights. It is not a bad looking car, but it is really not in the same league as the Civic RS Turbo or the Mazda 3 in terms of looks. Its selling point is its fuel efficiency, courtesy of its hybrid powertrain. Because of how hybrid system works, it is actually more fuel efficient in the city than on the highway. It can do up to 22.5 kpl in the city. For shorter trips, you can actually just use the electric motor and not consume any fuel at all. Because this is a hybrid, you won't need to recharge the battery. It will charge by itself when you're applying the brakes or when you're slowing down. The Altis Hybrid is powered by a 1.8-liter gasoline engine. That engine is coupled to two electric motors. Overall, it produces 121 horsepower at 5,200 RPM and 207 Newton meters of torque at 3,600 RPM. The engine is coupled to a CVT transmission. It is actually the same powertrain that's on the Toyota Prius. There you go. So this is the interior of the Altis. You have plenty of soft touch materials here. This is soft touch. I don't think this is leather, but it looks like leather. And you have full leather stitching. This is also soft touch. The steering wheel is leather covered. Leather seats. The driver's seat is power adjustable. Okay, so I'm now at the back seat. Legroom is okay. I have two air vents over here. I have a foldable armrest with two cup holders. It's very nicely padded. Headroom is just okay. I can fit a finger in between my head and the ceiling. Just one finger though. The interior of the Altis V Hybrid looks pretty nice. You have soft touch materials on the dashboard. You have leather seats. Stuff that you would expect from a 1.5 million peso car. It is not as luxurious as the Mazda 3, but it doesn't feel bare either. The instrument cluster is digital and it is customizable. You don't get a tachometer. Instead, you get this gauge which indicates how much power you're using. At the center, you get this visual representation of your drivetrain. When the arrow is pointing downwards, you're using engine power. When it's using the electric motors, you see a green arrow pointing upwards. The transition from engine to electric power is almost seamless. You almost can't detect it. The biggest disappointment here in the interior is that Toyota still uses the same aftermarket 8-inch head unit that they use in almost all of their vehicles. It looks a little weird. You have this huge bezel and a tiny screen. The US models come with much bigger screens. Starting the car is a familiar process. You step on the brakes and then you press the start button. What is unfamiliar though is that you don't hear a starter motor and you don't hear the engine. It is like turning on an electric gadget. When the engine is sufficiently warm and the battery is sufficiently charged, the engine won't turn on until you need more power. The Altis has the same powertrain as the Prius. It has the same engine, the same transmission, and the same electric motors. Thankfully, the Altis has the familiar gear shift knob and not the tiny joystick that the Prius has.
So, pag itong gauge nasa charge, nagka-charge siya, ganun ba yan?
Opo.
Yung nasa left na gauge?
Parang ano siya sir, red control, ganun po ang purpose ng dulo.
So, talagang wala siyang tachometer, no?
Wala po.
So yun yung ano niya, battery level 3 bars ngayon.
Ay po, 3 bars. Ito ang pinaka-minimum niya. Hindi po siya bababa dyan. Hindi po siya magpapalobat ng gusto.
I've seen the figures before the test drive. 121 horsepower isn't very impressive on paper, but torque is available instantly, so you step on the gas and you get pushed into the back seat right away. So it feels faster than it is. Competition. The advantage of the RS Turbo is that it has a more powerful engine. I think it looks more sporty. It is the cooler looking car. The Altis, aside from the advantages of the hybrid system, also has more active safety features like adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, autonomous braking, rear cross traffic alert, etc. As for the Mazda 3, I think it looks better than both the RS Turbo and the Altis. It has most of the active safety features of the Altis hybrid, but it is also 100,000 pesos cheaper. Hybrids have been popular in the US for a while now, but they're still a new thing here in the Philippines. I'm actually surprised that Toyota is selling this at 1.5 million. That is pretty good value, I think, considering that the Prius still sells for at least 2.3 million. And the Altis is a more practical car than the Prius. There aren't really a lot of hybrid cars available here either, so you don't have a lot of options. The Altis hybrid might not be as nice to look at as the Mazda 3 or the RS Turbo. Probably not as fun to drive either, but it is a lot more fuel efficient. You also get the privilege of bragging about your low carbon footprint among your friends. In addition to all of that, you also get Toyota's full suite of advanced active safety features. I think at 1.5 million, the Altis V Hybrid is a pretty good deal.